you walked by Maya's room, there was usually a nurse in there playing with her or watching TV or doing something with her. But I know that was her favorite, because she used to have, like, she made a list of nurses that she liked and who she would like to have for that shift, so that the charge could set up those nurses if they were available and it was possible to give to her, so that she felt more comfortable and that she loved. So,
and I'd like to draw your attention now to what's in evidence as 2364008 and 009. If you could put that up, Clay. I'll represent to you that this is a special My Care journal created by Maya Kowalski while she was at All Children's Hospital. And at the bottom it says, "People I really liked at the hospital." Is that pulled up for you so you can see it?
yes.
I'd like just to draw your attention to a few people on this list and ask you to tell us who they are. Do you know who Amanda is? She's got the heart next to her name.
Yes, Amanda Cook. That was also probably her second favorite. Her second favorite nurse. She's also a younger nurse, also very lively and smiles a lot and very boisterous.
And then down below, I've got a smiley face next to a Nurse Lindsay. Who would that be?
I'm not sure if that is Lindsay. We have two Lindsays. The spelling of that one is probably, she's also a younger nurse. She is also a day shift. Those two are day shift nurse. Actually, Amanda is night shift, but Lindsay is a day shift nurse, but also younger, very sweet. Both are very professional and very great nurses.
And then we get over to the second page on 009. I see there's actually 6 stars next to a person named Sylvia. Would that be you?
It's probably me, because I'm the only Sylvia on the floor.
You do notice here you have the most stars of anyone.
I do see that, and I'm very excited about that.
Do you want to take back your prior testimony about who's favorite?
Well, I don't see Sam, so maybe Sam had her own page. I'm not sure, but.
And what about Angela? She's got 3 stars there.
Angela, I don't remember an Angela.
That's fine. Let me ask you this: when you're caring for somebody like Maya Kowalski, does the team of nurses kind of adopt a collaborative approach? In other words, maybe you're not on shift that day, but you lend a helping hand whenever you can if Maya needed something?
Oh, yes, yes.
Why don't you describe that concept for the jury, this idea of kind of a collaborative nursing approach?
So I'm assuming that you can expect that it can be a very busy floor. You might have 2 children that might need to go to the bathroom at the same time, or one needs a drink, or so if a patient is calling out to need something, if somebody else is busy, then we would help them care for the patient, and that can be down to getting them a drink, changing their bed, or even giving a medicine. If the other nurse is busy and they need to get a medicine for pain medicine or something like that, then we would help each other out. And especially 7 North is the nurses are very bonded, very close, so we really help each other out all the time.
In your experience with Maya, did she have the opportunity to get out of her room and go to other parts of the hospital and engage in activities? And if so, what do you recall about that?
Well, again, I am a night shifter, so we would, have her out in her wheelchair and, around the floor, but we only really had, from 7 to 11 before she went to bed. But we always would report to each other at shift change. So the day shift nurse would always, say that usually she went to the playroom almost every day, I think, with Child Life. I know she baked cookies many times. She liked baking cookies downstairs. I know she gave me one. I know that she liked to get out of her room, so I know that she went mostly to the playroom is my understanding, and then she also did physical therapy, occupational therapy downstairs. We have it on a different floor.
Did you care for Maya?
Did I care?
Did you care? Did you have fond feelings for her?
Oh yes, I loved Maya.
And to this day, you still have fond feelings for her?
I do.
Yeah. It's your witness.
When's the last time you wrote her?
Last time I wrote her?
Yeah, called her, wrote her, see how she's doing.
Last time I saw her was when she was probably a couple days before she was discharged to the hospital.
Okay. Where were you when Kathy Beattie photographed Maya Kowalski?
I was probably sleeping because I'm a night shifter.
So you weren't there?
No, I was not there.
Do you know anybody else that was there?
I would say day shift was there, but I don't know any personal people.
You mentioned a cross. I wanted to see. Sorry about all that shuffling. I know people don't like my shuffling. Let's look at 2604-004. Was that the type of cross?
The type of cross?
Well, the type of necklace with the cross on it?
I've seen that one before. It was more of like a material one.
Mm-hmm. So, I heard your representations of religious material. Was the thing that you said a book with religious material, was that called a Bible?
I don't think it was. I don't think it was a Bible.
Okay, so this was a prayer book?
That's what it looked like. Yes.
Uh-huh. All right. And I didn't hear you mention a rosary.
I did say that before. Yes.
And I didn't hear you talk about her being able to have communion.
No, I did not say that.
And overall, I didn't hear you describe her having a cross up in her room. She never did she?
Not that I remember.
So you care about Maya. I know you've testified. So you would be able to, you think, understand her moods by looking at her?
Yes, but I always would verbally ask her.
Uh-huh.
You know,
All
how
right.
she was feeling.
Sure.
Other things.
But you saw her almost every day for quite a long time, right?
Usually 2 to 3 days a week were my shifts.
Okay. Well, let's pull up 2604-005. Does Maya look happy there?
No.
Is that in her room?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Any follow-up?
No, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, do any of you have any questions?
There's a couple of questions. Are you still employed at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital or anywhere in the nursing industry?
Yes, I'm still employed at Johns Hopkins.
Did Maya ever mention any staff that she was not too keen on?
She did not personally tell me that she had any problems with staff.
Mr. Hughes,
Nothing further.
Did you ever ask her?
Did I ask her what?
Whether there were any people there that were bothering her or making her feel bad or hurting her?
No, I did not ask her that.
Let's have one final question. If I could pull up, would you recognize some of Maya's pajamas, other clothing, you think? I know it's been a long time, but is it possible you could?
Maybe.
All right. Let's pull up 2604-018. Do you look at it hard and see if you can remember back? Does that look like a type of pajamas that Maya would wear to bed?
I don't recall. I believe she was more covered up.
Well, obviously with a shirt on over it, but generally with the pants and that type.
Yeah, she would have more covered up though.
Yeah, a shirt over it.
Yeah.
There's no shirt on this, but generally it would.
Yes.
Nothing further.
Nothing further.
members of the jury, anything further? May this witness be excused.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And released from all subpoenas?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You're free to go.
Yes, thank you.
You're free to go.
Mr. Hughes, are you calling the next witness?
Yes, I am. The defense would like to call Nurse Amanda Cook.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
May it please court?
Yes.
Good morning, ma'am. Can you please state your name for the jury?
Amanda Flores.
And I understand back in 2016 you went by a different name. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So if the jury were to look at charting from 2016, your name would be?
Amanda Cook.
Can you move a little closer to the microphone so the jury can hear you?
Amanda Cook.
There you go. So in the charting you're Amanda Cook, but now you're Amanda Flores.
Correct.
All right. Sorry to have to deal with that in the front.
It's okay.
And I understand that you rendered some floor nursing services to Maya Kowalski over the course of October 2016 to January of 2017. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What is your current occupation?
I am a pediatric nurse practitioner with the Department of Anesthesia at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital.
Why don't you tell the jury a little bit about the path you took to become a nurse practitioner at All Children's Hospital in the pediatric anesthesiology department?
Okay, so I went to school at St. Petersburg College for my undergraduate. I got my bachelor's degree there. And then I ended up going to University of South Florida for my master's degree with a specialization in pediatric nurse practitioner. And I started at All Children's in 2014. Do you want me to give my work history?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about your work history too, sure.
Sorry. So I started at a facility called Sable Palms in 2012, and I worked there until 2014, and that was working with chronic kids. It was a 32-bed unit, and so I worked there for 2 years, but my dream was always to work at All Children's. And in 2014, I was hired on to 7 North at All Children's Hospital, and I worked on that unit until 2018. And then in 2018, I started with the University of South Florida with the nephrology department, still at All Children's, and I worked with USF Nephrology until 2022, and then that is when I started with back at All Children's in the Department of Anesthesia in the pre-op area.
You touched on this a little bit in your response, but why don't you tell the jury about the passion you have specifically for caring for patients with chronic illnesses or chronic problems?
Yeah, so I naturally, when I worked at Sable Palms, those kids were there for an extended period of time, so I took care of the patients as well as communicating with the families, so I just love building relationships with them. And then when I started at All Children's, we had kids that would come in, we'd call them frequent flyers, kids that would come in frequently, and I just naturally would build relationships with those patients. So yeah.
And why don't you tell the jury why it is you decided to make pediatric nursing your calling?
So I have a pretty strong faith background. I grew up in a Christian home with parents who love and serve the Lord, and they taught me to do the same thing. And so growing up, I wanted to be that love to other people, to patients. I wanted to be the hands and feet of Jesus, I guess you could say. And so nursing was a way to do that. I believe that when I walk into a room, I carry the power of the living God living inside of me. And so when I walk into the room, I can bring hope in hopeless situations, and peace in stressful situations, and joy in times of mourning. And so my patients are not just a person, but there's someone I can love, there's someone I can care for, there's someone I can bring hope for. And so it's that little girl that's scared and nervous and doesn't have her family with her, or that mom that just lost her child, or that child that was just diagnosed with cancer. It's that being able to love on them and be the love of God and really just help them through those situations.
Now, I understand you were Maya's floor nurse back in 2016 and into early 2017, right?
Correct.
Why don't you tell the jury a little bit about how, as a spiritual person, you interacted with Maya on a spiritual level?
Yeah, so when I first met Maya, she was sweet, a little 9 or 10-year-old blonde little girl that I remember carrying her rosary beads and loved God. And so that was a mutual connection that we had, and I had opportunities to pray with her and talk with her about God, and just be able to comfort her in just times of unknown. You know, you're a 9 or 10-year-old in a place that is not your home. So,
did you ever have the opportunity to pray with Maya?
I did.
Was that something you would do often?
I would.
And did Maya have access to a rosary?
She did.
I also understand you were present for some of Maya Kowalski's, what I'll call an AM routine, how she would get ready for the day. Why don't you paint a picture for the jury about how Maya liked to get ready and the things that you or other staff members would do to help her with that?
Yeah, that's correct. So we worked as a collaborative team with Maya. There were days I specifically cared for Maya. There's days that I just helped out. And she really liked her time in the morning. She liked to have her time with God. She liked to get dressed. She liked to put on her makeup. She liked to have a slow morning of eating her breakfast. And so it was very common for us to check in with her, get her anything that she needed, give her the time that she needed, and then the day would start kind of once she was all ready. When she was dressed, her makeup was on, she had her time.
Okay. And did you ever help Maya with getting dressed?
Yes, I did.
Why don't you tell the jury about what it was, how it was the nursing staff would help Maya get her clothes on, for example?
Yeah, so as time went on, Maya was able to, I would do assistance helping her to her chair. She would put her clothes on. She would, if she needed assistance as far as putting her pants on or whatever it may be, we would kind of give her as much privacy as we could as far as, turning her heads but helping her put her clothes on in the morning if that's what she needed at the time.
What about showering? Why don't you tell the jury a little bit about Maya's showering routine and how you or other nurses helped with that?
So I do recall transferring her in her wheelchair. There was a bathroom inside her room, and so we would help transfer her to the shower. And she was mostly, from my recollection and from my charting, she was able to do it for the most part independently, and we would give her, step out of the bathroom, give her privacy for that, and then when she was ready, we would come back in and help her.
And am I correct that you also rendered some nursing services while Maya Kowalski was in the EEG room, also room 709?
That is correct.
Okay. Why don't you describe the layout of the EEG room as it compares to all the other hospital rooms that would be on 7 North?
So it looks like just like any other room. As you walk into the room, there's a computer and a sink. A computer on the right-hand side, a sink. If you look forward, there's a window with a windowsill, and the bed is on the right-hand side, and then the bathroom is to the corner on the left, as well as there's a TV on the left-hand side as well.
And I understand that there was a bedside commode in the EEG room as well, correct?
That is correct,
Why don't you
yes.
tell the jury a little bit about how you physically as a nurse would interact with a patient like Maya with respect to a bedside commode, getting from the bed to the bedside commode, that type of thing?
Yeah, so with the bedside commode, we would often help transfer her from the bed to the commode if she was using the commode rather than the bathroom, especially at night. We would help transfer her to the commode, and then normally while she used the commode, we would turn around, look the other way, and then when she was ready for any type of assistance and transfer back, we would.
Is it common for there to be a little bit of space between the bedside commode and the bed, such that the commode's not right up against the bed?
Correct. There's a little bit of space in between.
And why is that space there?
For safety, giving a little time for transfer. I mean, you have two people that have to transfer a patient, or one person that has to transfer a patient, so.
Do you recall any instances in the EEG room where Maya Kowalski had an episode of incontinence?
I do not recall that.
Is that something you would have put in your nursing charting if it happened?
That is correct.
And you didn't hear from anybody else that happened?
I did not hear from anybody else that happened.
Did Maya Kowalski have her good days and some bad days?
Yes, absolutely.
Why don't you tell the jury some of the things that you or other members of the staff would do on days where maybe she wasn't particularly feeling all that well or wasn't very cheerful?
Yeah, so we had opportunities. We had different, we are a children's hospital, so we have a piano, we have a chapel, we have a playroom. So especially on the days in which she maybe was down, we would talk to her, like what she wanted to do that day, we would always do that, but if she wanted to go to the piano, we may spend a little bit of time with her making bracelets, or she loves Shopkins, so sometimes we would contact our child life specialist. They have toys on site, so they can bring stuff in, whether she needed a little bit more time to spend time with the Lord or whatever she needed, that we would often do that.
Now, the jury's heard quite a bit about Shopkins, but can you take us back into 2016 and 2017 and tell us about the kind of stuff, and I'll use that term loosely, that was brought into Maya's room from friends, families, and other folks?
Yeah, she loved Shopkins. I don't have any children of my own, but I remember specifically how much she loved Shopkins. She had the entire windowsill filled with Shopkins and stuffed animals, and I know that family members would bring those in, nurses, if we saw something out that a Shopkin that she didn't have because it was like collectible, if I recall. We would bring those in for her, Child Life, just the different staff members. Yeah.
So if you, for example, saw a Shopkin out on your own time, you'd use your own money to purchase it, bring it back for Maya?
Yeah, we really loved.
You can answer.
I'm sorry. We really loved Maya. She became part of our unit. She was there for a while, so
Was she appreciative of things like people bringing a Shopkin in on their own time?
absolutely.
What about food? Did you recall Maya's patterns with food or ordering food, that type of thing?
Yeah, there was things that she liked. She could have the opportunity to call down to the cafeteria and order specifically what she wanted. There was times that if she was getting ready in the morning, in order to have her food delivered at a right time, we could put a little message into the cafeteria, and so we've ordered, Captain Crunch or Captain Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Cheerios or milkshake, sandwiches, different things like that.
And in terms of your nursing charting, did you observe any improvement with Maya's upper and lower extremities over the time that you rendered services to her?
Yeah, I do recall early, one of my first times taking care of her, charted in October, her upper extremities were more weak. And then as time went on, her upper extremities, she was able to do more independently, and it was mostly just the lower extremities.
And do you recall Maya receiving any visitors during the time she was at All Children's Hospital?
I did, yes.
Who were some of the folks that would come visit Maya?
I know her dad came to visit her, her brother, her aunt and uncle are the ones that I mostly remember.
Were you ever nominated for a Daisy Award by Maya Kowalski?
So I do remember, I believe I was. I do not have the nomination. I went through a move, so I looked for it because I was like, I feel like I was.
Do you know if any of the other nurses on staff received a nomination?
To my recollection, yes, there were a couple.
And when you were caring for Maya Kowalski, did you consider her to be kind of part of your family?
Yeah, I felt like I was in my mid-20s when I was caring for her, so I felt like she was one of my nieces or daughters. Like I cared for her like she was my own.
I really appreciate your time for coming in today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's your witness.
And when was the last time that you got in contact with Maya?
It would have been
7 years ago?
yeah,
6 years
before
ago?
she left the hospital.
You were that close.
I'm sorry?
You were that close, right?
Yes.
It was 7 years ago. All right. So then, you are aware that that Maya lost her mom, right?
I am aware of that, yes.
Yeah. And I didn't see your name in any of the records from the 8th on to the time that Maya left Johns Hopkins. Isn't it true you did not see her during that period?
The 8th of what? I'm sorry.
After the 8th of January 2017, the day her mom, or the day after her mom killed herself.
So I worked on the unit, and it was a collaborative.
Ma'am, my question is, were you there or not?
Was I at the hospital that day?
No. Were you there on the floor with Maya?
I don't recall if I worked that exact day or not.
So you were so close, regardless of whether you were working there or not, but you were so close that on the day after she lost her mom, you did not come in to pay her condolences. True?
I did not say that.
If you were on the floor, you did not go in to pay your condolences, did you?
I paid my condolences to Maya. I do not recall what day it was.
All right. And what? You walked into the room? You sent a card? What'd you do?
I talked to Maya, asked her if she needed prayer.
And if there was, needed prayer. How many times did you and Maya attend services together?
I did not attend a service with Maya.
Was Maya able to attend services of any kind?
To my recollection, yes, she was allowed to.
Where would she do that?
If there's a chapel, she could talk to the priest or the chaplain.
You do know what a religious service is, don't you?
I'm sorry?
You do know what a religious service is, don't you? A Christian religious service, obviously you do.
Yes.
There were no services there on Sundays that Maya could attend.
Objective.
True?
Since
Overruled.
facts, not evidence. Argument.
Overruled.
True.
Good answer.
To my recollection, that is true.
Now, a patient, well, first let me ask, on the video, there appears to be someone applying cream to Maya's lesions. Was that you? On the EEG surveillance video. You've seen that?
I don't recall that video.
Okay. Well, assume here that there was, we're trying to figure out which nurse it was who was applying cream to Maya's lesions. Would that have been you?
I don't recall that video. I do not know.
Okay, well, you said you were there, right? And you described the room, correct?
Correct.
All right. Did you ever apply any lotion or cream to Maya's lesions?
Asked and answered.
Overruled.
I do not recall.
You do not recall either way?
I do not recall applying lotion to Maya's lesions.
Well, maybe not in that circumstance, but in any circumstance?
I don't specifically recall.
That's okay, just tell me generally.
I don't recall.
All right. So, it would be if a patient, particularly somebody you really cared about, like Maya, was forced to defecate on herself while in your and the other nurse's care. That would be, I'm not asking you to agree with me on whether it happened or not, but if it did happen, that would be embarrassing, would it not?
Assumes facts, not an evidence.
Overruled.
If that, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure. If a child was put in a situation where she had to defecate, poop on herself, that would be an embarrassing situation, would it not?
That is correct.
And you and the other nurses were the people that would put the information into the nursing chart, correct?
That is correct.
Now, you're aware that Maya Kowalski has testified here that she had to defecate on herself, are you not?
I am now aware of that.
When did you learn that?
I've learned that now. I've been told that she was.
Okay, when were you told?
When I spoke to my attorney yesterday, yes.
Okay, and he explained about the what Maya testified to in that regard?
That is correct.
I'm going to object on her part.
Approach.
Okay, objection is sustained.
Were you on the PICU floor?
No,
Which floor were you on?
7 North.
Do you have any photographs of you and Maya together?
No,
Did you have a camera phone over this period of time?
yes.
Have you been able to review any other surveillance videos of Maya?
There was some EEG footage that I reviewed back in several years ago, and this case was going to be earlier.
Okay. Do you know why there are no photographs of Maya except during the period of time that risk management said that Kathy Beatty was supposed to take them?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled.
I do not know.
How long was Maya there?
October through January.
About 3 months or so?
That is correct.
And how often did you see her?
Almost every shift that I worked.
And how many shifts per week?
Approximately 3 per week.
So, that's 12. You saw her approximately 50 to 60 times over this period, assuming that you saw her every shift, which I think you testified to. You would have seen her in the fall of 2016 50 to 60 times.
Approximately.
And over that 50 to 60 times, you all were so close and having such a wonderful time together that there isn't a single photograph of you together. True?
That is correct. I'm a nurse, and so taking photos of my patients is not acceptable.
Nothing further.
Mr. Hughes.
If Maya Kowalski had soiled herself, would you have helped change her bedding?
Absolutely.
Would you have remembered that?
Absolutely.
Would you have put that in your nursing notes?
Absolutely.
Have you had a chance to review all of your nursing notes from the time that you cared for Maya, including while she was in the EEG room?
Yes, sir.
Did you see any evidence of any incident where Maya soiled herself?
I did not.
Thank you again for coming in today. Have a nice
You mentioned your nursing notes. Did you ever see Kathy Beatty with Maya Kowalski?
Yes.
How often?
I don't recall the amount of times.
A lot? A little? Once a week? How often?
I don't recall.
Nothing further.
Members of the jury. Have you step back? It looks like a little bit more than. Members of the jury, do not discuss this case amongst yourselves, do not do any investigation, and receive no information.
All rise. Jurors exit.
Okay, please be seated, everybody. Members of the jury, I want to confirm while you were away, you did not discuss this case amongst yourselves. You did no investigation and received no information. Is that all correct?
Correct.
And did not see any accounts from the media, correct?
Correct.
And no one approached you about this case.
Correct.
Okay, I'm going to be able to ask almost all of the questions. And you just saw Nurse Flores walk back in. The attorneys and I went over these questions outside her presence. Ma'am, Nurse Flores?
Yes.
Okay. Jury has several questions. I'm going to read them to you.
Okay.
Did you know why Maya was moved to room 709?
I believe that's where she was at when she started. I don't recall.
Do you think it was strange for them to tape Maya for 2 days, and why?
I don't recall them taking Maya for 2 days.
No, I'm sorry. Taping. Videotaping, not take. I apologize if I misspoke. Do you think it was strange for them to videotape Maya for 2 days, and why?
I just remember it was just part of the process. So not necessarily.
Next question. Was there a bedside commode in Maya's regular room?
She had a bedside commode, yes, available to her. Bedside commodes, if they need them, they're available to patients.
Okay, so I will not ask the follow-up because it was if not. Was Maya observed using the bedside commode without assistance in the EEG room as she was being video recorded in that room?
To my recollection, we would have helped transfer. She needed help transferring, so we would have helped transfer her to the bedside commode.
Next question. What would occur professionally if a nurse was in the practice of trying to keep in touch with your ex-child patients?
Normally, that would be something if a family asks for your number, but it's normally not highly looked upon to communicate with your patient outside of the hospital or family.
Did Maya ever writhe in pain from CRPS pain of being picked up to be transferred to the bathroom or commode?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yes, ma'am. Did Maya ever writhe in pain from CRPS pain of being picked up to be transferred to the bathroom or commode?
I don't recall the writhing in pain. I think she was, from what I remember, she was kind of always reporting that she had pain.
Did Maya have to go to a place to find God? Could she speak to God when and where she wanted?
Absolutely.
Is it acceptable practice to take personal pictures of patients on your personal phone?
It's not acceptable practice to do that.
You were one of Maya's floor nurses. Was your shift the day or night shift at that time?
So at that time, I actually was night shift for a portion of it, and then I switched over to day shift. So I was night shift in October, and then I believe around November, early to middle of November, I was day shift.
During that time, how much contact did you have in your duties with, we'll first start with Kathy Beatty.
We would talk to her if there was any question about anything socially related. So I don't recall the exact amount of times I would speak to her.
How much contact did you have with Sally Smith?
I don't recall personally having contact with Sally Smith.
With respect to Kathy Beatty and Sally Smith, were you seeking out them to give information about Maya, or were they seeking you out to ask about Maya?
Can you repeat that question?
With respect to Kathy Beatty and Sally Smith, were you seeking them out to give information to them about Maya, or were they seeking you out to ask about Maya?
If I had questions, I would seek out Kathy Beatty, which was the social worker tonight.
Mr. Hughes, do you have anything further?
No, they are.
Mr. Anderson?
Some photos not acceptable. What about nicknames? Like, could you assign a particular child a nickname like Ketamine Girl or things like that?
No,
That was frowned upon, was it not?
I don't ever recall her being named something else.
As to the photos, though, certainly you could not show photos outside the hospital. But in the hospital, for instance, to put up on a child's door or otherwise to use in some time of festival or other thing with permission, you could use those, could you not?
I have not been in that case, but I believe so.
Okay. And even with that, you haven't seen any photos of you and Maya or remember any photos of you or Maya being taken. True?
Correct.
You have no training really in CRPS pain. Is that true?
That is correct.
She answered it, Mr.
Oh, she did. I'm sorry. But Maya was always reporting to you that she was in pain?
I would have to look through the charting to give you an exact answer to that.
Sure. But your off-the-cuff answer was that she was always telling you she was in pain. True?
That is correct.
About this video, now, you cared about this young lady, my client, and you wanted to make sure that she stayed healthy, happy, right?
Absolutely.
Is that true? Okay. All right. So when whomever took her, and by the way, do you know who took her down to this surveillance room?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Do you know how she got to the surveillance room?
What surveillance room? I'm sorry.
Where they took the video of her?
Are you
Wasn't there a
referring to the
designated-
EEG room?
The EEG room.
Which was
Okay.
her.
Right. They told
Room.
that, okay, so this was the EEG room. Okay. But so we're clear, no EEG was ever taken of her, was there?
To my knowledge.
All right. So Maya's down there. They're not doing an EEG. What steps did you take to find out what was going on with your patient?
Objection outside the scope.
Overruled. You can answer.
Going on with my patient, I would have orders that I would follow from the physicians. So there would be orders that were placed.
So did those orders say something to the effect of don't ask?
I'm sorry?
The orders you're talking about that you were following, did they have anything to them to the effect of don't ask why?
No.
And yet you still were not curious about why she was being taken down there?
She wasn't being taken. She was in an EEG room, which is a room just like any other room.
All right. So from your point of view, this was normal. You did not know this was a surveillance room, correct?
This is a normal room. There are patients that are not on EEG that have had to be in those rooms.
Sure.
It just it is equipped to be placed on an EEG monitor if they needed to.
All right. Is it true that there were surveillance cameras throughout this hospital?
Objection. Relevancy.
Can y'all come up, please? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and sustain that last question.
Did you see the video cameras in the EEG room during the times you were there with Maya?
There are video cameras in the EEG room, yes.
But nobody told you whether they were in use or not?
I don't recall.
Nurse Flores, can you give the jury an idea of the layout of 7 North? And I'm particularly interested in where is room 709, the EEG room, in relationship to all the other rooms that are on that floor, if you can recall?
Yes. So 7 North kind of is a big circle. And when you come onto the unit, there's a charge nurse office. 709 is, I believe, the first room on the right-hand side, if I'm to the charge office. And then there's a room next door, and the rooms just continue around the unit. So it's a room just like any other room, and there are designated EEG rooms, and then there are other rooms that are not capable to do the EEG monitoring.
Okay. So if I heard you correctly earlier, the EEG room, 709, it's like every other hospital room on the floor, right?
Correct.
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
I think you also testified in response to some of Mr. Anderson's questioning that there are times that Maya reported 10 out of 10 pain. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And that would be Maya reporting to you that she was in 10 out of 10 pain, right?
Correct.
Were there times that you observed Maya Kowalski where she appeared happy and no apparent distress and smiling?
Yes. So she would report that, but her behavior would sometimes be, she would be smiling, she would be playing, she would be communicating, she would be going on with her normal life.
Thank you
normal
again.
day.
I appreciate your testimony.
Testifying that you know about pain, would you agree with me that there are a lot of people, children out there, in deep pain that still manage to go on with their normal life? Cancer patients?
Objects calls for speculation.
Overruled.
That is possible.
If this room is like every other room, does that mean all of the rooms have video cameras in them?
Different rooms can have different capabilities.
Many do, some don't.
Yes.
Okay. And the rooms that Maya was in, other than this one, the EEG room, they all had bathrooms, did they not?
That is correct.
So a portable commode was not placed next to the child's bed as a matter of course, right?
Not for every patient.
And not for Maya, except in that one room.
I do not recall if it was there all the time or not.
I'm not talking about in that one EEG room. I'm talking about in her regular rooms. There was no commode placed next to her bed all the time, was there?
For safety purposes, she needed assistance transferring, so sometimes the bedside commode would be what she needed to transfer to rather than transferring to the bathroom, especially if she had to go to the bathroom quickly.
So sometimes.
Sometimes, I'm sorry.
There was a bedside commode sometimes?
I don't recall if the bedside commode was in the room at all times.
If she might need it for an emergency, that must mean it was kept within her ability to get to it?
It should have been, or we would have been able to move it. She needed assistance with transfer.
All right.
So it was something that she did not do alone.
I'm just talking about, you testified about the portable commodes, so I think you just testified that you used one in some circumstances in case you needed it, right?
That is correct.
All right. The one in the surveillance room where we've seen the video was not within reach of her, was it?
I do not recall.
Nothing further.
Mr. Hughes?
Just a brief follow-up about the bedside commode. In your experience as a nurse, is there usually a space between the bedside commode and a patient's bed?
Absolutely.
And why does that space exist?
Because there's a transfer with the nurse or the tech or whoever's helping her transfer. We have to be able to help safely transfer her from her bed to the bedside commode. And then if the bedside commode is directly by the bed at all times, it can get in the way. So it's something that will have to be moved if it's in her bedroom.
There's nothing abnormal about having a few feet in between a bedside commode and a patient's bed.
Correct.
And not all patients require a bedside commode, is that right?
That is correct.
Objection, Your Honor.
No.
It's all legal.
Why did Maya Kowalski need a bedside commode?
She needed assistance transferring. She could not transfer on her own.
So if patients need assistance with transferring, fair to say they get a bedside commode.
Correct.
Thank you again.
Anything
Nothing
else?
further, Your Honor.
Members of the jury, any further questions? Okay, we have a couple, but let's try to do them here. Ms. Flores, you previously stated that you recalled watching the videotape of Maya from the EEG room, but were you not aware she was placed in there for 48 hours in order to be observed by video?
I don't remember that, but I remember when I saw the video later.
Did I apologize. Did you ever take Maya to the hospital chapel?
I personally did not.
Was Maya, for most of her stay, on the same pediatric floor, but transferred for 48 hours to the 7th floor observation floor?
The EEG room was the room that she was in. The room 709 was the room that she was in for her stay that I remember.
Is the room 709, the EEG room, on the same floor as Maya always on?
When she was transferred out of the PICU onto 7 North, yes. That is the same floor.
Mr. Hughes,
One moment, Your Honor. Just to clarify, Ms. Flores, so room 709, that's on
7 North, right?
That is correct.
And Maya stayed on 7 North for the entirety of the 3 months, right?
That is correct, except when she was in the ICU.
Okay, so she went from the ICU to the floor,
Yes,
and then she stayed on 7 North on the floor,
that is correct.
and there was a period of time she was in 709,
That is correct.
and then there was a period of time she was in another 700 rooms on 7 North.
I believe so. I remember her in 709.
Okay. Do you remember her in other rooms neighboring 709?
I don't recall what room.
But to your knowledge, she stayed on 7 North
Yes.
the entirety of her stay
That is correct.
after the PICU.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so pardon me. Are you testifying that Maya was in this special EEG room through her entire stay on the 7th floor? Or was she moved to another room which had EEG equipment for that 48 hours?
I don't recall the EEG. The 709 is an EEG room.
Okay, but her regular room was not 709, correct?
I believe her regular room was 709. I don't know if she was in a room prior, but that's the room I remember her being in.
Okay. And have you ever seen any other video other than this 48-hour one that we're talking about?
No.
Do you remember it because it's the room number? That it was the same room? Or do you visually remember it being the same room you walked into every time with Maya?
I remember it being the same room that I walked into.
Okay.
And cared for Maya.
anything further, Mr. Anderson?
No, you're good. No.
Mr. Hughes?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else? Okay, defense, your next, may this witness be excused? We're going to go for round 2 here.
Best news of the morning. Nothing from my end here.
Can she be released from all subpoenas?
Yes, Your Honor, she sure is.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
You're free to go. Now, defense team, what's next?
Your Honor, we'd like to publish Defense Exhibit 3178A.
You may proceed if it's in evidence.
Yes. I apologize. This is email from Kowalski to Kowalski dated.
Well, then take it down if that's not what you're
No,
going
this is what I meant to do. I didn't announce what it was.
Okay, I
I saw
apologize.
that had been on the page.
anyone need additional time?
There's a second page.
Well, hold on a second. We still have jurors looking. Okay, let's go to the second page. Anyone else need additional time on this? Mr. Shapiro, your next issue.
We call by deposition Scott Kowalski, by video deposition.
You said Scott Kowalski?
Yes, Your Honor.
Scott, if you'll raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I solemnly not.
What kind of things would you do when you visited Maya at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital?
We would play games in the arcade. She would draw, make things, walk around with the wheelchair on always.
The arcade games, what kind of, strike that, in terms of the arcade games, would Maya use her hands and arms for those arcade games?
Yes, we were trying, hopefully, by getting her out of the bed, that she'd get some kind of exercise instead of just laying there.
I think you mentioned some arts and crafts, maybe some drawing. Did you have the occasion to observe Maya doing any type of artistic work at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital?
Yes.
What kind of art did she do? Is she a sculptor or a painter or a drawer?
I don't know if she was making things in the classroom out of putting stuff together, gluing it, whatever.
Did you ever watch her drawing?
Possible, I can't remember. I know she's probably a good artist.
Did you recall her having any difficulty with performing these arcade games or working on arts and crafts?
No, because they're pretty simple. I mean, pretty simple games or whatever. They don't have nothing there strenuous. I mean, with air hockey, she'd sit in her chair and push the puck back and forth. No.
Why was it that you came to be the person who was going to take Maya to Dr. Duncan at the courthouse?
I have no idea why I was picked, but I did it because I was picked.
Okay. Do you remember doing that?
Of course. I just told you I did it.
Oh, well, why don't you describe to me what you recall about your involvement in taking Maya up to Dr. Duncan?
I was the one who was able to take her. What details do you want to know?
Did you talk to Dr. Duncan?
No, not that I can recall. I just know I brought her to the courthouse, released her to Dr. Duncan, went and waited, and I took her back to the hospital.
Okay. Did you talk to Maya about her time with Dr. Duncan?
No,
Did you talk to Maya at all on the drive back to the hospital?
if anything, Maya was very happy to be in the car with the windows down, and I just know that she was happy to have fresh air. I don't get involved with personal stuff. I could pretty much, if anything, just try to make her happy at that moment.
Did Maya seem happy during that drive with you?
Yes.
Was she complaining of pain?
No.
At some point, I think, didn't you also take Maya from, I believe, maybe either the courthouse or the hospital to Clearwater for a consult with Dr. Hanna? Do you recall anything about that?
I do remember going to a doctor's office. I don't know, was I alone or was somebody with me? I don't remember the trip, but I do remember taking her to a doctor's office.
Okay. And do you know approximately how long that drive was?
I do not.
Did you go into the doctor's office, into the consult room, and observe the assessment?
I don't remember. I think I would be just sitting in the waiting room.
How did Maya seem on that drive over to the doctor?
Well, I don't think there was any issues because I would have remembered that, but no.
What about when you were returning back from the doctor's office back to the hospital? Do you recall any issues on that drive?
No.
Did Maya complain of pain?
No.
Was she crying?
Not that I can recall, no.
Your Honor, the defense next calls by deposition Jack Kowalski.
Sir, raise your right hand to be sworn, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
What kind of extracurricular activities does Maya engage in? Besides the Honor Society, which
she's in, well, she plays the piano. She's very well at it. She's in a couple different groups in school. One is for the Honor Roll Society. She's the president of that. She's the president of chorus, and she's the class president or whatever for that. What else? Well, she has Duke University following her through Duke Tip, so she's involved with that. She also, trying to think what else. Well, that's pretty much it.
When was the last time you or Maya saw a physician for chronic regional pain syndrome?
That would have been Dr. Hanna after the release. And Kirkpatrick, I'm sorry, both of them.
Okay. What recommendations did they make at that time, if any?
Water therapy.
Which consists of what?
Pool, using the pool, warm water, their pool's heated, and to be in that pool as much as possible to build up the muscle.
What does Maya's workout consist of?
I honestly don't know because I'm not up at 4 in the morning.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you know how long it is?
It's between 4 and 6:45 to get out the door. So I would say maybe 30 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Because she makes her lunch and eats and that too as well.
Okay. So do y'all have a home gym or?
No, she has weights and she has a workout mat and things like that. So I'm sure a lot of stretching, bending, and lifting her little weights. and the weight balls and all that she has.
Like medicine balls?
Yes, different weight.
What signs or symptoms do you think you see of CRPS in her today?
What signs I see now?
Yes, sir.
In her?
Yeah.
I don't see signs no signs, no evident signs. She's not complaining of pain. Her muscles built up. There's no lesions. And yeah, I don't see nothing right now.
The defense next calls by deposition Maya Kowalski. The first deposition is August 28, 2020, and the second is March 12, 2022. And I believe they'll run consecutively.
I'm sorry?
They should run consecutively. They're two different depositions. The first is, I think it displays on the screen runner, but the first is August 28, 2020. And the second is March 12, 2022.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear.
Good morning, Maya. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
And so PE was one of your electives in 8th grade?
Yes.
Did you pick PE this time, or was it picked for you, for lack of a better term?
I picked PE.
And what kind of activities were you participating in PE class in 8th grade?
8th grade, I was participating in everything that all the other students were. So football, any type of sport we did, all the games, and so on.
That's what I was getting at. So you don't recall having any flare-ups in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade?
Correct, no.
Have you had a flare-up since you graduated from 8th grade and you're getting ready to head into high school?
No.
So why don't you do me a favor and walk me through a typical day in Maya Kowalski's life over this summer, let's say, starting with your 4:30 a.m. workout regimen. Walk me through your workouts, what you do for hobbies, who you play with, and all the way through to when you go to bed at night.
I wake up at 4:30. I immediately go on my walk, which lasts normally 1 hour and like an hour and a half to up to an hour and 45 minutes. It just depends on the day. I come inside, I set out my yoga mat and I do some yoga. After I finish my yoga, I take a shower, get ready for the day, eat breakfast, and that's when my day really begins. So I will check my email, take out my dog. I will do the dishes, do the laundry, put away dishes, put away laundry. I will make myself lunch. I will practice piano for an hour. I try to do that every single day, just to get in a routine. I really enjoy reading. That's something I love to do. So anytime I have leftover after piano, I like to just relax a little bit. And throughout the day, I'll take out my dog. Obviously, I don't just take her out once, but she doesn't have a schedule in terms of when she has to use the bathroom. And I start winding down at 5 o'clock. I have dinner with my family, and I pray, read some more, and I ultimately go to bed around, I start getting ready around 7, which sounds early, but I wake up at 4:30, so I try to get enough sleep. I don't sleep very well. And I fall asleep 8:30, 9.
So it seems like piano, if you had to rank your hobbies and interests outside of school, is piano right near the top?
Oh, yes. Piano is number one.
In terms of your workouts, I know you said you did a little bit of yoga. Do you do the yoga after the workouts? Are those kind of two separate workouts, or is yoga part of your 4:30 a.m. workout regimen?
They're two separate workouts.
Okay. Walk me through what you do when you work out at 4:30. I just want to get an idea of the type of exercises you're doing, the duration, that kind of thing.
Yes. So I simply go around this circle here because we live in a community that is circular. I go around that 6 times, so that's 5.5 miles. And I'll do some cardio, so running. I could do some high intensity interval training, so 20 seconds of running, 10 seconds of rest, so on and so forth for however long. And then I mix that in with some power walking because obviously first thing I cannot run around the circle. I just can't do that at 4:30. So the first 3 laps, I would say, are just me walking and warming up my muscles.
Okay. And what's the when you said you do power walking, what is that?
Power walking, just faster paced walking.
Okay. Do you ever do any weight training in the morning?
I used to, but I switched halfway in the summer. So I used to do very intense cardio, and I absolutely love cardio, but now just waking up even earlier than I was before, it's easier for my body to adjust in the morning by walking first, then implementing cardio.
What about your current medications? I saw from Dr. Wassener's records that Claritin and Flonase are your only 2 medications you're currently taking. Is that accurate, or are you taking additional medications?
That's accurate. I'm just taking the Flonase as needed and Claritin as well, just as needed.
Is it fair to say you haven't had any ketamine or narcotic medication since you were discharged from Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital in January of 2017?
Yes, I haven't.
You haven't?
I have not. Yeah.
Any other doctors that you're seeing outside of Dr. Wassener or a primary care doctor that works with Dr. Wassener?
I don't think so, no.
Are you seeing a doctor that specializes in pain or CRPS currently?
No.
Do you know the last time you met with a physician who was a pain doctor?
I can't tell you. Sorry, no.
Have you had any flare-ups of your RSD or CRPS in, let's say, 2018?
I don't think I did, no.
What about 2019?
No.
And then we call by deposition, a brief deposition of Maya Kowalski, March 12th, 2022.
What year?
Sorry, March 12th, 2022.
Ms. Kowalski, would you be so kind as to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you in any pain right now?
Right now, I'm fine.
Are you on any medicine right now?
I have this one pill, and it's for sleeping. I take Claritin, but I can't think of anything else right now, no, other than my acne medication.
You play the piano?
Yes.
So activities, it sounds like you're still doing ice skating?
Correct.
Okay. Any other physical activities that you do?
No, I mean, I work out, but no other sports.
Okay. So working out is different for everybody. What kind of things do you do when you work out?
It just depends how I'm feeling that day. I mean, sometimes I lift weights. I like cardio more than anything. Lifting weights isn't really my thing, but I do it periodically. I swim. I like to go on bike rides, and I really like walking.
Fair to say that you're doing better now from a pain standpoint than you were in 2015?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it fair to say that you're doing better from a pain standpoint than you were in 2016?
Yeah.
Your Honor, now we would like to publish what's in evidence, a photograph that's a Defense Exhibit 3138-2.
Okay.
And we'll publish what's in evidence, Defense 3138-5. And we'll publish what's in evidence 3138-7. And we will publish what's in evidence 3404-1. And we will publish what's in evidence as 3404-2. And these will be in evidence. And then, Your Honor, if we may take a short break at this time, and then we'll come back.
Well, I think it's time for our morning break. Okay. Members of the jury, this is probably going to be closer to a 15-minute break. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not do any investigation and receive no information. Okay.
All rise. Jurors exit.
Okay, the jury's out of our presence. Let's just take a moment before we take our break. So over the break, you're going to be looking, the defense is going to be looking at and verifying that there's no other exhibits that need to come in. Is that correct?
Yes, I need to get with the clerks to make sure what I think is in. Make sure we're on the same page on that. I also had a question about one of the plaintiff's exhibits, which I don't think is in, and I think they listed as in, and I want to clarify that.
Okay. And then, assuming everything is in, when we come back from the break, you're resting, and we're going to go into the plaintiff's rebuttal.
That's correct.
Just so everybody's aware, the shot clock this morning, the plaintiffs used 35 minutes, the defense used an hour 10 minutes. That means the plaintiffs are at a cumulative total of 60 hours, and the defense is at the cumulative of 42 hours, 30 minutes. As I told the plaintiffs, you're going to be limited to 2.5 hours. The extra hour that you got for cross-examination does not carry over into rebuttal.
Understood.
Can we have the lineup for rebuttal just to confirm we know who's being called by the plaintiffs, please?
Oh, and one other thing. Dr. Chopra came in while Maya Kowalski's video depo was being played. I didn't have an ability to put him in into the waiting room. Because
he's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom. Okay, so Dr. Chopra, we're going to be taking a break here in a few minutes, but everyone please be aware Dr. Chopra is now with us via Zoom.
Could we have the lineup and who's being called and the order?
I actually absolutely no idea about the order. I of course got Jack, Maya, Joe Corcoran, Pradeep Chopra, and Alina Kushner. And we have, I need to talk to the court about this. I have a less than 2-minute snippet from the video that Dr. Kirkpatrick took on his visit in 2023. The court has played that out, but
let's do this. Let's go on our break. Let's let the defense verify with the clerk. The issue with the Dr. Kirkpatrick video we can do after lunch. We can take that issue up after lunch, but I want to keep us moving.
On that note, who's first, though, just so we can...
Who are you going to call first?
hadn't thought about it. Probably, well, maybe we should call Dr. Chopra first since he's on Zoom, do you think?
Okay,
Whatever,
so
we just want to know who.
Dr. Chopra, be aware that we're going to take a good 10, 15-minute break, but it sounds like you might be first up when we come back. Okay, we'll be in recess. Let's try to come back at 11:15. And let's also make sure that the clerks also get an opportunity to use the restroom as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All rise. Close on recess.
Please be seated.
But I think one of the people who text not to. I just want to see that's why I'm not really the typo.
Y'all need.
Well, we didn't get a break.
everyone ready to go at this point?
Well, just,
Everyone feel free to sit down.
a couple of questions on exhibits, please.
Sure.
I will say there's some that we need to make sure the redacted ones and things of that sort. I don't think we have to deal with that at this moment, but we do have one that's there's one plaintiff exhibit that we have that was not admitted. The clerk is saying it's a little confusing. They have it as admitted and then also just for ID. So we can talk about that later if you want. But there's one exhibit that the defense needs to have admitted that I thought was before we rest. That is 3180.
And is it, just bring it up, please.
Yeah, sorry. I haven't even had a chance to talk to you. There's 2 pages. I think what happened, Judge, is that the plaintiff put this in under a different number, but we want to make sure it's in, so we're just going to put it in as well.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, I wanted to give you time to review it.
Well, are you agreeing or disagreeing?
We're not agreeing.
Okay, then let me finish reading.
I thought they had put it in, but okay. Yeah, we think that the plaintiff already put this in, Judge, but in best of caution, we wanted to admit it as well because we couldn't find the exhibit number that went to the plaintiff.
You emailed it.
I mean, this isn't the shortest of emails.
No, it's not, Judge.
Pull up 24.
Well, no, let me finish reading this first.
I'm sorry, I was talking to my senior. 117.
Plaintiff's exhibit number that matches this, Judge. That it's already been admitted.
Well, what's the plaintiff's number and then the clerk will
Yeah,
tell me?
2408, 1738 to 1739.
Okay, is it redacted or not unredacted?
No. We could bring that up, Judge, just to clarify.
Can you bring up 2408, 1738, 1739?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
So if it's already in, then we don't need to worry about it again, right?
Right, thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I don't know. I think there's some confusion about when this exhibit came in, and I think the court would agree that this is Chapter 39 loaded. So how it came in, when it came in, I'm thinking we're certain of that.
I'm certain of
We
it.
need redactions to this, or it's going to put all the Chapter 39 issues in front of the jury.
I'm not sure we were clear on exactly what rulings we had when something like this came in, because we put a bunch of stuff in at the start, Judge.
I'm sure about this, Your Honor. They moved in an evidence in their case, and we didn't object to it.
It's a clawback.
Well,
It's been shown to the jury through at least 3 different witnesses.
that's true.
I cross-examined Mr. Kowalski on it, specifically the part about that his wife wanted to take my AMA. That was a lie. We cross-examined Mr. Kowalski on the statement about Dr. Smith being with CPT. Mr. Hunter showed it to Dr. Cy Smith. This has been in evidence since I think day 1 or 2 of the trial, that both sides have relied on it. They moved in evidence. We didn't object.
Mr. Whiting, at this time, if it's in evidence and it's been used, I don't see what we can do at this point.
We request to redact it appropriately based on the court's careful rulings over the previous 8 weeks to keep Chapter 39 issues away from the jury. I mean, Ms. Kowalski here is talking directly about basis for reporting. So it's going to put all that right in front of the jury.
Let me just ask both sides.
Sure. Maybe we'll agree with the redaction they're asking for, Judge. I don't know if they can be precise as to what they want redacted. Maybe we'll agree.
Well, why don't we just go with what you want redacted? Let's start that way.
May I suggest that, well, I suppose maybe this isn't being raised now because they want to use it on cross-examination this afternoon.
I don't.
No.
Okay, so can I suggest that we're not going to use it with any of our witnesses in rebuttal? Can we take it up at the end of the day as to what's going to go back to the jury?
If both sides agree that we can potentially alter this document if necessary, and no one's waiving anything by the defense resting, then I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
Yep.
What's next?
Okay. Judge, I don't know if we want to address this now. I have a question about one of the exhibits that I don't think is in, the plaintiff saying is in on their list, but we could do that later.
We've got to get them in because they're going to have to rest today too.
Judge, I have. Can you bring up 2123, please, Clay? Page 723. I have the judge sustained our objection, and the clerk is not, is it fair to say, not clear on whether or not it was in or not?
Whatever, pull up whatever it is.
Okay, 2123, page 723. No, that's not it. That's not the one I was thinking of. Oh, I think that is in. I take it back. I know that one's in.
Yeah, I've seen this one before. I think this one's in.
I was thinking of a different one, Judge. My apologies.
This has been shown to witnesses too.
Yeah, no, my apologies. I think that's it, Judge, other than having to deal with making sure we have the right one with the clerks with respect to redactions. I don't think we have any other. Let me just confirm real quick with the defense team. I think that we're good to go.
So when I bring the jury back in, you're able to rest.
Mr. Hunter will announce that, yes.
And who's going to be our first witness? It's Dr. Chopra?
Dr. Chopra.
Okay.
And then before Jack Kowalski's testimony, we have one point, I'm afraid, though it may take some time, and that is about damages to the fraudulent billing part. And all that.
Can we do Dr. Chopra and then go to lunch? And
Yes.
I'm trying to get Dr. Chopra's attention. I'm going to swear him in. If I could ever get Dr. Chopra to...
I can text him if you want.
Why don't you text him and say that we're waiting on him? And he's going to have to click on his side to start the video and unmute.
Hang on, let me repeat it back in. Hey, Dr. Chopra, we're ready to go, and you're going to have to do something
On his computer, he's going to have to push the button to turn his camera on.
You gotta push the button on your computer to turn your camera on. It should be up there. Okay, all right. Jury's waiting. Thanks, bye. He says it's going to take him 1 minute to walk down the hall.
And remind me what state he's in?
He's in wherever Brown is, which is Rhode Island, I believe.
Rhode Island.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Chopra. This is Judge Carroll. Can you hear me okay? Doctor, can you hear me okay? Doctor, can you hear me?
Looks like a mute's on.
He's muted.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
I thought I had him.
I feel like I'm a cell phone commercial. Can you hear me now?
Hi.
Okay, there you go.
This is Judge Carroll, Dr. Chopra. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you and see you very well. Long time no see.
Yes. Thankfully, you didn't turn to stone when you looked at me. Now, are you still in Rhode Island?
Yes, I am in Rhode Island.
Remember, my powers only go to the edge of the state of Florida, and I need your permission to swear you in. And by doing that, you agree that if there was ever any perjury action or enforcement action, you agree to jurisdiction here in Sarasota County, Florida. Do you agree that I can swear you in under those conditions?
Yes, you can. Yes, you please.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give is the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm going to bring in the jury. And the first thing we're going to do is ask the defense to rest, and then we'll go straight to you, Dr. Chopra.
No problem.
I want to confirm while you were away, you did not discuss this case amongst yourselves. You did no investigation and received no information. Is that all correct? Correct. And no one from the media, you saw no media snippets on this? No. And no one approached you, is that correct? Correct. Mr. Hunter?
Subject of the matters discussed, Your Honor, the defense rests at this time.
Okay. Mr. Anderson, can you please call your first witness in rebuttal?
Dr. Pradeep Chopra.
And Mr. Reyes, are you going to be able to put the Zoom feed up so everyone can see it? And members of the jury, outside of your presence, I have already administered the oath to Dr. Chopra. He will be testifying under oath. Mr. Anderson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Dr. Chopra.
Good morning.
I think the jury remembers you, but for the record, you are a board-certified anesthesiologist and pain management physician, a professor at Brown University Medical School. Am I correct in that?
Yes, I am.
And so I wanted to ask you about some of the matters that came out in the defense case. One of them was an assertion by Dr. Crane that there is no such thing as whole body CRPS. Can you answer the question of whether you agree or disagree with that? And if you disagree, why?
Your Honor, we object this. This is not true rebuttal.
Okay. Overruled on that question. You can answer.
So I disagree that you can have CRPS in the.
I apologize. We also object to commenting on another witness's testimony.
Okay. You can answer, Dr. Chopra.
Okay. So yes, a person can have a full body CRPS. In fact, full body CRPS is common, and it's basic science. I mean, it's not rocket science. I have a nerve in my arms. I have a nerve in my legs. I also have nerves in my torso. I have nerves in my face. And, they are the same nerves that connect to the same brain. So it's not like the brain chooses to have CRPS in the limbs only and not in the torso. And we've seen this a lot of times. In fact, untreated CRPS or CRPS not treated well, let's say in the right arm, will eventually spread to the whole body. And I mean, there are not rare cases. There are many, many cases with full body CRPS.
And then factually, have you had the opportunity to refer cases of whole body CRPS back and forth with Dr. Crane over the years?
Yes, actually, we do. So there are patients come from all over the world to see me, all over the country too. And so if there is somebody that comes from the West Coast, I will refer the patient to Dr. Elliot Crane for this. And a lot of them are full body CRPS cases.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the testimony here about withdrawal and dependency. I've advised you that during the course of the defense's case, there was some testimony by Dr. Levy to the effect that ketamine has withdrawal and dependency. Can you tell the jury, A, whether you agree or disagree with that? And if you disagree, what factors you may not have discussed initially, or you can remind us of, that support your position?
Renew the objection about what witness commenting on the testimony of the...
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm sorry, Judge.
Let's.
I also renewed the objection, but this was it's not rebuttal. It was a subject of his testimony previously.
On this issue, I agree with Mr. Shapiro. This was discussed during your case in chief.
As to the in terms of then the treatments with ketamine, is ketamine now approved as an orphan drug?
Objection, again, not true rebuttal.
No, yes, it is.
I'm overruling that one. You can answer that one.
Yes, ketamine, I believe in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, the U.S., the FDA approved ketamine as an orphan drug for the treatment of CRPS. Just to clarify, an orphan drug is a drug, when there's a disease that's not common, so they can't get enough patients, the FDA makes a little concession and says, all right, we don't need 1,000 patients to do the study. We can do it with 20 patients. And so it has been approved for the treatment of CRPS.
Understood. And in terms of the additional uses and it's been approved of, does that also include chronic depression and other psychological factors?
So far, it's been approved for treatment of what's called treatment-resistant depression, which means that depression which has not responded to any treatment. So this is like the last measure, and it has been approved. It's a nasal form of ketamine that you can buy it at the pharmacy. But most psychiatrists are using it as an IV form to treat depression. And even they're also looking at PTSD from the war veterans. They're trying to look at if it helps that.
I moved to strike is outside the scope of his expertise, talking about psychiatry.
Is asking
overruled that objection.
And doctor, do you keep up then with the statistics on the use of ketamine since it has been approved in 2019 as an orphan drug, so that you can testify about whether there have been any cases reported with this increased use of any type of withdrawal effects?
Objection bolstering, also outside the scope foundation.
Sustained.
I think I'm done, Judge. Give me one moment. I want to check with Mr. Whitney on that. I don't know if I advised you of this as well, but Dr. Crane testified that 2/3 of pediatric patients will return to, will relapse. What is your position on that?
Objection, mischaracterization. Again, renew the objection about commenting on another witness's testimony.
Yeah, let's try to not reference back to a specific.
All right. Do you have an opinion about any percentages of pediatric patients that relapse back to CRPS?
Okay, so I need to clarify that a little bit.
Okay.
CRPS is a lifelong condition. Whether you get it at the age of 10 or whether you get it at the age of 20, it's going to last you for the rest of your life. At best, really at best, it may wax and wane. So you may have more good days than bad days, but they're all pretty bad days in general, and it never goes away. There's no relapsing. You have it, you're done.
Got it. I think that's all I have, Judge. We can't get into some of the withdrawal factors. I think that's a new one.
Okay, so you're tendering the witness?
I'm tendering the witness subject to court's ruling.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Chopra. Just a couple questions. Thank you.
Sure.
Just a couple questions. You said it takes time for whole body CRPS to spread. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Is that months typically?
No, there's no such data or information, and it's you got to understand the human body. Everybody's body is different, and somebody may get CRPS in their left hand and it'll stay in their left hand for 20 years, but somebody may get CRPS in their left hand and very rapidly become a whole body. So there's no number that we have, or we don't have any. There's so little we know about this condition.
So, but in either way, from your experience, it does take some time to spread, true? You were asked about relapse and patients who can relapse down the road. Have you seen any medical records suggesting?
I'm sorry, you sir.
Yeah. I apologize. Can you hear me, Dr. Chopra? No?
Sir, can you hear us okay?
He's frozen. I think he's frozen.
Interesting on. It's probably his internet connection.
We lost him completely.
Just have him reconnect. These things happen. Of course, it always happens right before lunch. And you were able, Mr. Anderson, why don't you call him and see if he's having problems, and if we've lost the video feed, maybe we can just do it by phone.
Yes, sir. He said their technical people were working on it. I'll try. The court wanted to know if you would like to do it by phone, or if we could do it by phone.
Phone's fine.
Okay. You can, counsel, consent to that, or?
Yeah.
All right, so Judge, how do we go about this?
Well, you can either give me his telephone number and I can call here.
The court's going to call you.
Probably the easiest way, or you're going to have to put your cell phone right on the lectern next to Mr. Shapiro. He says he only has 2 questions.
Let's not do that.
So,
all right, the court's going to call you.
Well, I need a telephone number. Just write his telephone number. Don't say it out loud. Oh goodness.
You can take a number of them.
It's the one that says mobile.
I believe so.
Okay. See if I did this right.
Chopra.
Dr. Chopra, this is Judge Carroll. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Judge, I can hear you very well.
Okay, we're just going to proceed because we're a little bit tight on time.
I know.
Mr. Shapiro is just going to start asking you questions, okay?
Sure, no problem.
Dr. Chopra, since we last spoke, it sounds like you did speak with Mr. Anderson about the questions he was going to ask you. Is that fair?
I'm sorry, could you rephrase that question?
You spoke with Mr. Anderson about the questions he was going to ask you in front of this jury. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
You had no idea what he was going to ask you before he called you?
No.
So let me ask you about, since we've spoken last, have you applied for any hospital privileges?
Hospital privilege? No, I don't want hospital privileges.
You haven't had hospital privileges in over 20 years. Is that still true?
It's true, yeah, I don't want them.
And you did not get your medical degree from Harvard, did you, sir?
Objection, Your Honor. This is well beyond.
Sustained.
Okay. That's all I have then.
Okay, any follow-up, Mr. Anderson?
No, Your Honor.
Now, hold on a second, Dr. Chopra. Members of the
Sure.
jury, does anyone from the jury have a question? Okay, I've got a question or two coming from the jury, so. So, but no question to the witness? Wait, I don't need Dr. Chopra on the phone for that. Am I correct, Mr. Shapiro, Mr. Anderson, members of the jury, that there's no more questions for Dr. Chopra? Okay. So, Dr. Chopra, that completes your testimony. Thank you for being with us today, both by video and by telephone.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm going to hang up now.
Okay.
There we go. And I was able to use the telephone. Is your next witness short, or is this where we're breaking for lunch?
I think I can do Ms. Kushner.
Oh, no.
We need to have a discussion about that.
Okay, let's go ahead and take lunch. We're going to try to only take an hour and 15 minutes, so let's have them back at 1:15. Do not discuss this case amongst yourselves. Do not do any investigation and receive no information.
All right. Jurors exit.
The jury is out of our presence. Everyone, please be seated. What's the issue with this next witness?
Your Honor, we would simply, there's two things. First of all, we would renew our objection to this witness testifying about a collateral outside matter that we believe violates what we spoke of before, as well as 403. We're hamstrung, to be specific, in cross-examining this witness, because if we do, we're going to inevitably bring in a collateral lawsuit against both Johns Hopkins and Sally Smith.
As to whether she was wearing a lab coat and whether she introduced herself?
No, sir. It's going, if I ask her if she has a collateral lawsuit, or if I ask her if she's represented by Mr. Anderson, then the contention will be made that I'm opening the door to the idea that she's also suing Dr. Sally Smith. Dr. Sally Smith misrepresented or improperly caused her prosecution or dependency action, and the entire matter of the Kushner claim against Dr. Smith, a number of my employees, our employees, and Johns Hopkins. So bringing this up, permitting them to go into this, is almost a free shot, because I can't cross-examine her about potential motive and potential interest in the outcome of this case, or the extent to which it may benefit her. Now, that's our objection to it, Judge. Now, I think if you're going to permit it, then the least I should be able to do is to cross-examine her on a limited basis regarding her representation by Mr. Anderson and the benefit that may be inuring to her without being held to have opened the door and permit the litigation of Kushner versus Johns Hopkins in this courtroom.
What benefit, I feel like I've been insulted here, it is unethical to promise a witness in any way, shape, or form any compensation. I certainly did not. Her case is on appeal before the First District Court of Appeals. I have not talked to this lady for probably a year and a half, and it was a NICA claim, Judge. So I filed a companion case where they're defending, which has been stayed through the entire matter because, again, the focus was on NICA. It was a backup in case the NICA court determined that it wasn't neurologically damaging to the extent necessary. That's the issue on the first. So I have not talked to her until I called her to ask her the question, I think about 4 days ago. And the only question I think is, have I represented you or am I representing you? I still don't see, however, the relevance of that, because in this instance, I'm actually dealing with her husband for most of it. Technically, yeah, I am, but it's for the child.
Well, here are my thoughts, and then we can talk further. As respect to the request to reconsider, I'm denying that. Mr. Hunter brings out how are we going to address the issue, and isn't really the question, and it's Miss Kushner, that's going to
Kushner.
Miss Kushner, does she have a claim against, whether it's Dr. Smith or the hospital or whomever, does she have a claim that would show that she might have some sort of bias or motive here, which is, I think, what that defense is wanting to get into. And that, asking it whether she has a claim, that's fine. And then I guess you can ask if she has any sort of financial outcome in the Kowalski case, which I suspect the answer is no. Because I don't see how, well, regardless of what happens in the Kowalski case, I don't see how that impacts one way or the other her claim, if, assuming that NICA, there isn't some sort of NICA issue that would preclude the other suit, how this testimony and this outcome by this jury, and this jury here in the Kowalski case, how that would have anything to do with a different case.
The suggestion, Your Honor, is that the testimony given here is reciprocal or may become reciprocal. Because if the Kushner case goes forward, and we defend it, I suspect that someday either I or someone else representing Johns Hopkins will be standing in a courtroom like this one, and we will be being told that on the witness list appears someone named Kowalski with this same idea going on. Now,
how about the question, have you been promised anything for your testimony here today? Does that address the issue?
It does. It partially does, Judge. But it's foreclosing the type of cross-examination that I think you would like to pursue, or that counsel would like to pursue if the situation were reversed.
I'm not pursuing any cross-examination.
Well, I understand that.
I mean, you want to get in the concept of bias and motive. I think that that's allowed and appropriate. So why can't we ask her if she's made a claim against Dr. Smith or the hospital or both? And, is she represented by counsel?
Judge,
And
if I ask her about a claim against Dr. Smith or against Johns Hopkins, then I'm walking in to a matter of an argument that we were engaged in some kind of pattern of activity, and I'm implicitly asking them to go ahead and argue that there are other cases out there. This isn't isolated. We're not looking at this in a vacuum. That there's some kind of pattern in practice that they're going to implicitly present to the jury. That is highly prejudicial. That's exactly the 403 problem I'm talking about.
Well, Dr. Sally Smith testified the way she did, and so this testimony is appropriate rebuttal testimony on the issue of whether Sally Smith was, wearing or not wearing some sort of regalia, lab coat or whatever, and how Dr. Smith introduces herself. Everyone knows she's the CPT medical director. I don't think it comes as a surprise that there's other cases where she's acted as the medical director of the CPT committee. I'm okay if you want to ask the question about whether this witness has any type of claim against the hospital. If you don't want to ask that question, that's fine too. But if you want to ask that question, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine too.
Well, the point here, Judge, is if I do, or if I ask if he's represented by counsel, is court then going to say that all the rest of the entire Kushner matter is fair game?
The answer is no. It is. If you want to ask about possible bias or motive, and you want to ask about whether she's got a claim, if she's been promised anything about testifying here today, if there's any sort of reciprocal agreement, if you want to ask those questions, fine. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Okay? Anything else before we take our lunch break?
We have I was just going to ask who you guys have.
We have a number of exhibits that we'd like to move, and we'll do that after the break.
Well, yes, and what I was going to say is that we come back early, that we come back here at 1 o'clock, which would give us 15 minutes. Is that going to be enough time, or do we need to come back even earlier?
I was just going to ask what the order is.
I know that I will be doing Jack Kowalski after that, and I think then we've got Dr. Corcoran, and then finally Maya Kowalski. And so I understand the jury's been dismissed for lunch, so she will not be going until after lunch. Sorry, I missed that.
No one else is going to testify until the jury comes back. My question is, what time do we come back? I am suggesting 1 o'clock, which would give us 15 minutes, but if we need more time prior to the jury coming back, I am doing everything I can to land this plane today as it relates to all evidence. So,
yes, sir.
We need to do that today.
I think the 15 minutes will be sufficient for exhibits.
Okay, we will be back at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. We're in recess until 1 p.m.